What's up, Hammerheads? Welcome back to the channel. We're actually going to work on the car today. I have a turbo inlet pipe and a diverter valve to put on this thing today. And hopefully those are going to help us with supporting mods for when we eventually get a tune on this car. So, today, turbo inlet pipe. This is from ECS Tuning. That's what... There's a stock turbo inlet pipe. Here's a silicone one. These are much more rigid. The stock turbo inlet pipes have a tendency to collapse under higher boost levels. So when you, these cars are only at about 8 pounds of boost, 8 psi turbo pressure, if you will, under stock conditions. When you tune these things, you can tune them up to about 20 psi, which is like massive gains on a stock turbo. So this is going to help us. This actually should make some more noise as well. All these ridges and everything in these stock pipes, the ridges are actually designed to make it quieter. They are to baffle noise. So when you put something like that on, you get more choo-choos. New diverter valve. All metal, 034 Motorsport. Hopefully we have better luck with this 034 Motorsport part. Right here is a stock diverter valve. And if you're at stock boost levels, these are just fine. When we go to higher boost levels, you want a diverter valve that can handle the higher pressure better. And just having a new, metal aluminum part on there will hopefully help. So we're going to get stuck into this, as the Aussies would say. Various screwdrivers, pliers, snips, a couple more little screwdrivers. This little guy right here, this is going to be our friend today. This little pick, all for prying apart stock clamps. So we're going to be working right here. Got to get a bunch of junk out of the way and get down in there. It's all buried down in there. We're going to pull the headlight out to give us some more room. So I'm going to switch cameras and we'll get right into that. Okay, let's get into this. So we got to get this little fresh air inlet out of our way. You guys have seen me take this out a bunch of times. Sounds like it's breaking. It's not breaking. That sucker is just tight in there. So, and every time I pull it out, it pops this weather strip loose. Alright, so that's out of the way. Now, let's get our headlight out of the way. You can probably do it with the headlight in place, but it only takes a second. And it'll make us a little bit more room to work. So, hopefully you guys can see I got all the lights on today. Alright guys, so we're starting a new voiceover thing here. Just learned how to do this. So over some of these time lapses, I'm going to try to voice over and tell you what I'm doing. So taking the filter out, taking the mass airflow sensor out, and just starting to pop loose any hose clamps that you can find, anything that attaches to this turbo inlet pipe. We're going to be trying to take it all loose. There are going to be some stock clamps on here that are a bugger to get loose, but we'll talk about that later. You got to use a little pick and pry at them to get them loose. But this was not an easy project. Lots of prying, lots of cussing, lots of cutting my hands. But we'll just talk our way through it and get it done. Haha! We have exhumed it. Okay. So, if all you're doing is an inlet pipe, this is technically all the farther you have to go. This guy's out. But we're doing a diverter valve. And the diverter valve is, let's go for a ride, right down there. See that guy right there? That is an N75 valve that controls our boost levels. And that diverter valve is what blows off pressure when the butterfly in the throttle body closes and there's pressure trapped in your boost pipes. That lets the pressure out. So we still have to get that guy out, which is buried way down in there. And I know when you're on the tripod you really can't see a lot, but I'm trying to show you, as best I can. Right there is the inlet of the turbo. While we're here, we'll check for any shaft play. And I'll be honest, there's a tiny bit of shaft play there. There's a little bit, but it's not that bad, so we're gonna let it ride. So I'm gonna put you back on the tripod, time lapse some more, and try to get that unit right there up out of there. So talk to you in a few. Alright, so here I'm just talking about taking these factory Audi clamps off. You basically use a pick, get underneath the edge, and pry them up. You can get a screwdriver in there and pry it up. Once you pop the tail end of it loose, it's loose and you're good. So okay, so here I'm just saying, as you take pieces off of your old inlet pipe, put them on the new inlet pipe the same way they were oriented. So here I'm arguing with clamps down on the diverter valve, trying to get that up out of there. It was a real bugger. It's a cramped space, and it's just not easy down in there. But if you keep on prying at stuff and work at it, you'll get it. Got it. Okay, so here you'll see me take a few of these Audi clamps off, and the easiest way to do it is just get a screwdriver at the back side of it, at the tail of it, and start prying. You can use a little pick or a screwdriver, and keep prying up until the tab pops loose. You'll know immediately when the tab pops loose, and as soon as it does, the clamp is free and you can slide it off. They're a little bit tricky, but after you do a couple, you'll get the hang of it. Okay. Alright, we got this reassembled. This is essentially ready to go back in to the top of the diverter valve. It is okay to just use a zip tie up here. That's the, common reassembly. Just to use a zip tie. Anytime you're using hose clamps that are like way too long, get them close, cut them off before it goes back in. Now, that sucker right there, that sucker is razor sharp. That'll light you up, so be careful. So let's get this back down in there. Hopefully, get it orientated wherever it goes. We're gonna put the top line on before that goes back down in, and then we're essentially ready for reassembly. Alright, so here we're just putting the boost reference line back to the top of the diverter valve, throw a couple zip ties on it,
trim them off, and that's all good to go. Now we got to reach back down in the hole and try to get everything lined up. Make sure you get your hose clamps orientated, because that's not a word. Put those where you can reach them, and just try to get everything lined up the best you can. Get your hose clamps tight, and then we can put the turbo inlet pipe down in next.
Okay, that's down in there. Now we can start trying to put this turbo inlet pipe back in. Alright. Pay attention right now. Try to get everything lined up. Hang on, dog's barking. Come on, cowboy. Dog's barking, thought someone was here. Freaking nut job. So, I think I got all this lined up the way I want it, so I'm going to tighten this. Yeah, that's pretty snug. I don't want to go crazy on that. I honestly think this other stuff is pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and try to tighten these up as well. Uh-oh. That's good. That bottom one there, that one ain't going to be fun. Finally got that bottom one. I think everything else down there is tight. So, turbo inlet pipe can go in. Okay, I think that's the clamp we want for there. So, this Johnny is going in like that. I think the way the factory clamp was oriented was below, like that. And you could get to it. So, that's the way this one's going. And yeah, that's all the bigger the turbo inlet pipe is. It's just a little bitty baby turbo. Don't hate on it. Okay. Down in.
So here I'm just trying to get everything lined up and trying to get hose clamps back on and everything situated where it wants to be. It's a bit tricky to get all 5 of these hoses lined up at the same time. And now I'm just trying to get the mass airflow sensor and the air filter all put back together here. We're going to have to address this later because it doesn't really fit very well, but I didn't know that at the time, so I'm on the struggle bus right now. Pretty frustrated, but that's the way it goes sometimes.
If I said that wasn't a nightmare, I'd be lying. If I said that things weren't misaligned, I'd be lying. That wasn't easy. Everything was a little bit off, if I'm being honest. And everything being a little bit off made everything a lot of bit off, kind of. But it's in there, and, you know, I get what people are saying, that things didn't align right, this and that. But at the end of the day, it's all in there. It's all in there. It all did hook up. So, I don't know. Not that bad. Not that great, not that bad. I'm sure the factory pipe
aligns much better. But I think we already knew that. Make sure all your clamps are tight. I think I got everything good. Last thing you want is a clamp failing on you now. But I think everything's good. Everything's in. So smack the headlight back in. And there is a port on this that I have no idea what it does. Yeah, I don't know what that does, but I think I have some plastic plugs or something that I can plug that open hole right there. And then once that hole's plugged and the headlight's in, we're done. So, almost there. Alright guys, so this thing's in there, but you can see that that headlight is pushing into the silicone boot like crazy. And I understand that this kit was meant to be used with a factory airbox, but that's kind of wild. Like, I think I can take this flange off of this stock mass airflow sensor and get my filter to slide back on another, whatever, ½ inch or something. But that's like kind of crap. It's crushing into that pipe that much. It's kind of significant. Kind of not, but kind of significant. So I may even take a little bit off of the end of this silicone. That might help. Looks like I can take another ½ inch off of that. So that ½ inch here, you know, ½ inch there, might get this all shrunk together to get that collapse out of the pipe there. So we're gonna have to address that. Okay, so let's get this popped apart so we can get that mass airflow sensor out of there and modify that and possibly even take a little bit off the end of that silicone. Okay. This apart. Okay. First off, filter out. And now we'll take this mass airflow meter out. Okay. Plug this guy. Mass airflow sensor is out. And these things were basically in each side. There was one in each side. And on other cars I've owned, I've torn those out of there. And I don't know if they're to save, you know, that sensor in there from getting hit by debris, or if they're meant to baffle noise or what. But on other cars I've owned, I've ripped those out of there and, you know, had no adverse effects. There's also this little bitty metal screen that goes upstream of the sensor. I'm actually going to put this back in. So we're still going to have some protection, you know, for the sensor in there. But I don't see that, you know, all of that bull crap is necessary. So I'm going to go up to my big garage where I have a grinder and some other tools, grind these flanges off, possibly shorten this thing up a little bit. But before I do that, so I don't get the sensor dirty, I'm actually going to take the sensor out. They are Torx security bits, but luckily I have those. So I'm going to pop this out, grind this sucker off, and I'll show you what it looks like after I'm done. Okay guys, so here it is. Flanges are cut off. Might not be the prettiest thing in the world, but you're not even going to be able to see it, so I'm really not worried about it. Metal screen is back in, both plastic screens removed. So next, we are going to cut some off the end of this guy right here. Alright, so trimmed about a ½ inch off the end of that silicone pipe, and we're ready to put our mass airflow sensor back in. Now, see that arrow on there? That's which way the air flows. So don't put this in backwards because it won't read right. So jam
cranking that thing the whole way in there as absolutely far as we can. And cram this guy on there. As far as we can. And we gained quite a bit of room here, guys. Honestly, I bet you we gained about 1.5 inches of room. And that's like a mile. That's a lot of room. So, pretty excited about that. I'm really hoping that it's enough. I think it is going to be enough. I can already tell we got like way more room in here. That filter was like super crazy tight in there before, and I've got quite a bit of room now. So, plug our mass airflow sensor back in. Slide the headlight back in. The little rubber gasket in here on these headlights is a pain in the butt, but you know, it's on there for a reason. So we're gonna leave it on there. Okay. Alright. So it's still pushing on the pipe a tiny bit, but man, it's like way better. I'm totally cool with that. So, get this headlight bolted back in. Okay. That makes me feel way better. Having more room for that intake. It's still snug in there, but it's not collapsed like it was. And that's gonna help us out a lot. So, I think we can officially call this job done. Hey, 2 more things before we're done. That little plastic plug right there. That was just an open hole. I don't know if this, this car, different years used that hole or not, but there was nothing to hook up to it. So I got a 1/2 inch plastic PEX plug and it jammed right in there. No clamp needed, it was so stinking tight. So that's just a good way to plug that off. If you buy that intake pipe and you're like, what the frick do I do with this hole? Just jam a PEX plug in it and you're good. Also, put that guy back in so we can get some sort of cold air in there. And that's it. Like, you can barely even see it down in there, but that's just fine. It's not meant to look pretty, it's just meant to do a job. So let's back this thing out of the garage and get a little sound clip, see if it sounds any different. So I think our squirrel bark noise is gone, and this new diverter valve kind of just makes a whoosh noise, which that's fine, that sounds cool. It's definitely quieter. I've heard when you put a tune on the car and there's more, boost, more PSI, that it actually gets quite a bit louder. So, right now that diverter valve isn't working real hard because it's designed for higher boost pressures. So maybe that'll encourage me to actually get off my butt and order a tune for this thing. But that's going to be it for this episode. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you subscribing. Share it on your socials if you want. Tap the thumbs up, like the video. We're done. Thanks a lot. Peace out.